From my research, the main purpose of secret societies is to do eugenics in order to maintain the rich's comfort and power. The main part of eugenics is screening out political dissidents and sabotaging people with talent that would confound the eugenicist argument. In order for eugenics to be successful, they must maintain the illusion that their argument is true. So therefore, when you have somebody who outperforms them and their networks and doesn't see it their way, they must attack them. When you have somebody who is extremely talented, either you sabotage them or you put them extremely beneath you so that they're very helpful. If they're only a little bit helpful to the eugenicist agenda, then the question arises, well, what else are they doing with their time? That's how it is. Kind of like the military keeping their troops busy. You know, they don't have time to complain or to plot mutiny or something. They're busy. The eugenicists, look at secret societies, science and philosophy. The philosophy of science, the philosophy of eugenics. Francis Galton, a Mason in good standing. Don't you understand? He was given awards. He was a very respectable Mason in the eyes of Masons because he pushed Masonry into public view, the parts of it which they wished to be exposed, and did it in a way that sterilized a lot of people and set the stage for the modern eugenics movement. These Cold Spring Harbor bitches are still around. They don't operate from there anymore, in that manner, but they're still doing it. This is by design, don't you see? And how dare you ninnies wonder why I keep making videos? You're a bunch of cowards that if this was Stalin-era Russia, you would say, well, why do you keep complaining about it? Or aren't you afraid they're going to do something to you if they hear that you're complaining about it? Who were the people they took to the gulags the quickest? It was political dissidents. Not like the gang-stalking coward that just drove by. Political dissidents were taken to the gulags first and foremost because they were in the way of the social planners' agenda. Don't you see? These are godless dogs playing God. Wake up. The modern gulag is the psych ward in the state hospital. Because it's not for criminals, it's for those people who think in a way that society doesn't approve of, that the rich have decided is threatening to them and their planning. These are sniveling dogs. That's what secret societies are. Hollywood secret societies, propaganda bitches. Yale secret societies, propaganda chemist bitches. And they have the drama club there, right? A lot of these actors and actresses went to Yale. It's not just the psychiatrists. It's not just the bankers. It's not just the children of the privileged class. It's across the board. Ivy League bitches across the board pushing secret society agendas. And they meet their network there at the Ivy League schools. These are cowards. These are Masonic dogs. They want everyone to be subordinate to the wisest and the best. And in the eyes of a bunch of miseducated, privileged chicken neck ninnies, who are the wisest and the best? Ivy League sniveling bitches and the sons of rich people that have been propped up. Just like there's two ways to advance to the 33rd degree, right? You study really hard, you work really hard and donate a lot of money. Or you're just a rich ninny from a privileged fucking ninny Masonic bloodline, and it's pretty much handed to you on a silver fucking platter. It's the same way with the fucking social engineers, the social planners, the social controllers. These are privileged Ivy League, prestigious college bitches. Do you understand what I'm saying here? They are soft-killing kids. Why do you think I talk about it so much? They are soft-killing our fucking kids. This is not a fucking game. This is war. And they are waging it on an unsuspecting population. This is war. Now, in politics, there are two groups of people that wield the most power. They are liberal, progressive eugenicists and neocon eugenicists. They give the major campaign contributions. They control the special interest groups and the lobbyists for the most part. They fund the campaigns. Right now we have a liberal progressive eugenicist, Hillary Clinton, running against a neocon eugenicist type, or who's backed by eugenicists at least, Donald Trump. They both work in collaboration to bring in the New World Order. It doesn't matter which side wins, their agenda is advanced. There are different people from different parties. You have radical liberals, you have Christian conservatives, you have just rich people. Now, when you look at the average conservative just wants to preserve their lifestyle. They want to have a gas-guzzling pickup. They want to own guns. They want to, make sure that their salary is, decent. They don't want to pay too much to help out other people because they're concerned about themselves. Their main objective isn't to kill black people or to limit the population. Their main objective is to maintain their lifestyle, take care of their family, and feel, like a macho white gun owner or something. The average liberal, they don't exactly want to do eugenics. They just want to improve their quality of life. But how it plays out, and it never fails, is in the favor of the eugenicists and their hidden agenda, which is hidden in plain view. The guards, the Air Force, the military, the police, these groups are full of average liberals and especially average conservatives. They are the muscle. They are the foot soldiers, the stormtroopers, the minions. They enforce the New World Order's policy. And all of them think it's in their best interest while they do it. This is all by design. The social engineers consist of mainly Jews, whites, and some Asians. The Jews are concerned with their small percent of the world. They want to be bigger. They want to limit other people's reproduction. Whites have a low fertility rate, and minorities are growing. They want to limit other people's reproduction as well. They agree on this. The Jews are a multiracial group of people. When you look at the Old Testament, when you look at the European Jews, right? They are Semitic types who mix with Europeans, So that's who they self-identify as a mixed race group of people. They trying to preserve that mixture, but that mixture is still obviously and blatantly there. We see that with redheaded and blonde Jews in Israel, for example. So they don't have a problem with race mixing, especially since they're the most clannish group of people. And they know that the major reason whites were angry at Jews and gypsies is because they were mixed. And because they spent time in Africa, in theory, they were also mixed with black. So Hitler said the Jews are bringing the Negro bastards into the blood of the holy German people, from his perspective. So the Jews know that this is a hotbed issue with the whites that millions of people died over in World War II alone. It's part of why they raped the German women, because they knew that the Germans were mad at them about this and that they had treated them harshly, to put it lightly, as a result. So, it went, back and forth. The prostitution before World War II, the gypsies and the Jews and the prostitute rings, and then the Jews boycotting the Germans, right before World War II, the Zionist Congress and organizations, and then the Germans, reaction, the blowback. And then, the Holocaust, which I believe happened to a certain degree. I also believe it's exaggerated, as propaganda tends to exaggerate these sorts of things, propagandists. And then, the rape of the German people, or millions of German women were raped by Russians, who were being led by Jews. It's hard for a lot of people to understand. There were Warburgs and different people funding both sides. And, on the very top level, there's kind of whitish Jews who don't really take sides because they acknowledge that they're part white and they're part Jewish. They don't really give a shit, about one side beating the other. They rather maintain the balance because that balance exists within themselves. The balance of power on the top is a white person who's mixed with Jew. A Khazar, for example. Ashkenazi is white Jewish kind of person. So they don't want the whites to wipe out the Jews, and they don't want the Jews to wipe out the whites. And just like there's an internal conflict within themselves, they don't mind that there's an internal conflict within the secret society structure. But there are individual whites who are very much angry at the Jews, who are in secret societies, and there are individual Jews whose parents were in concentration camps, what have you, who are very much angry at the whites. This is all by design. To make a long story short, they contaminate the water, they sabotage blacks in schools, they give them the shitty schools, the crappy equipment, the liquor stores, the drugs, and so on, to make black people undesirable. They target them with psychiatry. Call me a madman because I'm strong and bold. No one sees the struggle, they only see the trouble, as Tupac has said in his songs, Panther Power and Thug Mansion, respectively. They downplay the sabotage and they say these people are undesirables. The Jews know if they make a big fuss highlighting the sabotage in the whites' roles while downplaying theirs and funding black movements, they can create a certain degree of multiculturalism and white guilt. And they're not entirely wrong to do so. Also, we all know that inbreeding makes people stupid. And there's whites who are trying to downplay this and trying to make it seem like if, being pure white is the best thing to be. It's beautiful, blah, 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 nonsense. The president is biracial. The top martial artist is biracial. Bob Marley, one of the most respected singers, entertainers in history, biracial. Muhammad Ali wasn't Wesley Snipes' color, You do the math. Frederick Douglass wasn't Wesley Snipes' color. You do the math. Biracial people disproportionately are high performers. So yes, most likely, nature tends to move toward race mixing, and as a result, biracial people tend to outperform other groups of people. But they're never really studied as a group, especially because many of them identify as one race. For example, I check black whenever I'm given a thing. I don't check other. So they're not really studied as a group. But when you look at society, you realize there's not that many of them. And you realize the first president of color was biracial. I mean, there's so many signs that I'm right. You could call it being a hybrid as opposed to being an inbred. Now, I'm not saying everyone should race mix. I I personally like having different races. I don't want the world to be all biracial. But this is a tool that the Jews will certainly use with their propaganda campaign to push their multicultural agenda, which is partially aimed at getting revenge on the whites. They don't care if the rest of the world is mixed, as long as their very clannish, very closed society of Jewish culture does not mix. Jews do not want to bring a non-Jew home to mommy and daddy. I've never dated a Jew in my entire life, and I've dated many women. However, I still was shunned. Don't get it twisted. I was still shunned by women. I settled a lot. But the point is, this is how it is. Now, for the sake of downplaying what they're doing, they might throw, an unattractive Jew to the wolves, so to speak, or say, you know what, we'll give this one up, for the sake of making them think that we're playing our role. So no one highlights our hypocrisy in pushing race mixing on other groups, but being very clannish and being a very conservative kind of Zionist society in Israel and what have you. One more thing I'd like to bring up. I forgot to bring up, before when I said the conservatives, there's two more things actually. One is that the liberal progressives are the Nazi psychiatrists. They're the Nazi scientists. They're the Goebbels. They're the Joseph Mengeles, the Ernst Rudin, the Hess, the Himmlers. They are the shot callers. They are the kind of intellectual class, the leadership, and the neocons are kind of the military commanders, the Hitlers and different, in strategic commanding, leadership positions other than science and propaganda. Okay, so you see how the conservatives are kind of like the muscle, and they're all working together to kill black people, to target vulnerable individuals and quote-unquote undesirables, the same kinds of people that were put in the camps, people who they think are mentally ill, people, who are political dissidents, people who are biracial, okay? And, and that's why the whites disagree with the Jews. Because obviously the Jews don't want the Jews to be targeted like they were in World War II. They don't want the multiracial people to, but the whites do. Okay, also, it is not acknowledged in mainstream history that there was a Jewish conspiracy to oppress. Mainstream history acknowledges many white conspiracies, eugenic conspiracies, Ku Klux Klan conspiracies, law enforcement conspiracies, judicial conspiracies, Supreme Court conspiracies. They acknowledge a whole myriad of white American conspiracies to oppress and to suppress and to murder and sterilize and so on. So that's another thing that gives the Jews the advantage while the whites have the advantage of numbers. And they have a certain amount of wealth. The Jews aren't way more rich than the whites are. So it's kind of, that goes back to that balance of power. So this is absolutely all by design. And black people are taking the brunt. And so when you play any role, when you're a regular conservative, you're helping them. When you're a regular liberal, you're helping them. When you're pushing, women feminism, you're helping them. When you want people to be asexual or homosexual or LGBT, you're helping them. The only way not to help them is to put your foot down as a Christian or a Muslim or a real Jew and to be against everything and to expose them. This is a massive conspiracy. And to the masses of white Americans, who are the majority of America, if you play stupid about this, like you have been playing stupid about me being the top martial artist, I will be forced to highlight the white role in this. Because this is what people will acknowledge. And you're the people playing stupid about it. You're the people who can change it. You're the majority of America, but you're playing stupid about it. If you continue to play stupid, I'll say, you know what? This is your typical white eugenic conspiracy. It never stopped. You know, I won't even bring up the Jews anymore, because I'll have great difficulty convincing people of a Jewish conspiracy, but I will have no difficulty in the slightest convincing people that there is a massive white conspiracy for obvious reasons. So think carefully about what you want to do.